Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Full game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop!
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on the Hoosier.com, as well as other radio stations throughout the heartland of Indiana, like 1380 The Fan up in the Fort Wayne area and 97.7 The Ref down in Evansville. And then we don't want to forget our good friends up in the northwest of Indiana, WJOB. Good morning to all, or should I say good day? I'm completely out of whack because of different storms knocking out power up in the north the other day, and it's got me all confused. So good day to you all, and welcome to those that are watching via YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in each and every morning, as well as those listening via radio station near you. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. Coming up here in a little bit, Jim will join us as well. Got a really good show today. And I know Brett McMurphy from On3 Sports will be joining us here in a little bit to discuss, well, his article the other day about Indiana's non-conference schedule. I believe the exact wordings was it was garbage when Coach Signetti made reference to adopting the SEC philosophy of scheduling. And of course, that's okay, because I always say there's no such thing as bad publicity. Think about it. Indiana football has been in the minds and hearts of many of sportscasters from north to south, east to west, more in the last 2 years probably than any other time in Indiana football history. So no, sir, all publicity is good publicity, even though it may come across as a little of a shot, but that's okay. That's part of the love we have for college football and discussing the ins and outs of every season. But like I said the other day, the talking season's over, and we'll let the playing between the white lines decide who is and who isn't ready to meet the challenge of this 2025 season that gets underway this weekend. Many games this weekend actually going to be hitting the news channels here shortly, as there's about 3 or 4 different ball games this weekend popping up already in what they call week 0 of the season. So it gives you a little bit of, that early taste of what the true college football season starting in 2 weeks is going to be like, especially when the Indiana Hoosiers take on Old Dominion. They're in Bloomington, 2:30. They're in Memorial Stadium. Also, Fox Sports also carrying that ball game as well. The last I heard, there was approximately about 9,000 tickets still available. And that was about a week to 10 days ago. So hopefully that number has decreased and we are getting closer to a sold out crowd there for that first ball game. I definitely believe the student section will be completely full, as that has been sold out for the entire year, even though we're coming up on the holiday. I do think that will be a really good opportunity for the students to get out and take a quick look at these Indiana Hoosiers, who are ranked number 20th in the country, 19th in the other poll. So you got them in the top 25, and big things are expected in Bloomington, coming off that magical season of last year, college football playoffs, as well as Coach Cignetti's first season of 11-2. And like I said, became the darling of college football. Also going to be joining us today, Dustin Schutte from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He'll be along to join us, as will be Caleb Keller, an Indiana grad, as well as a host on FanDuel Racing, who is, I believe, stationed out on the West Coast, but he will be joining us also today, as he is a diehard Indiana fan. And we're looking forward to having him back on and getting his take on what he believes this year is going to be in store for the Indiana Hoosiers, as Indiana now is in game week. Tuesday was a final scrimmage day, as they probably went through a vast majority of what we call situational awareness football, where they will do many different scripted scenarios of a game to get everybody in sync as it pertains to special teams, offense, defense, substitutions, things that you may not even come across in a game, but you want to make sure your players are prepared for that in the event that something happens. And the biggest one is substitutions, because that is where you get into a lot of trouble that first game of the year, where you get players not paying attention or being what we call in the game mentally, and understanding when their opportunities arise for them to step out on the field and take a rep, whether it be on offense, defense, or if there's an injury. So those situations will all be, will probably all scripted and a part of Tuesday's scrimmage, as well as 2-minute offense, as well as 4-minute offense, what we call low zone and high zone in the red zone and things of that nature. So they are now preparing for the Old Dominion Monarchs as we speak, as they get into more of a daily school routine, as what Sig is a very type A type of organizer. He wants to make sure things are tight and on time, and he's going to make sure that they're well prepared for when the chaos starts, when they start classes that following week, where things get really crazy and you got freshman kids going to class for the first time and going through the whole scenario of a class day and then a practice as well. So all those things coming up today here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Cole. As I said, I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith, co-hosting with Jim today, and we're going to get things in rolling here in a second. Jim is going to be coming along, I promise. He would not miss the opportunity of a lifetime today to talk with Brett from On3, another part of the Hoosier.com. Remember, get over there to get your subscription, $1 for the first month, 50% off for the rest of the year. That also includes a subscription to The Atlantic as well, which is another great publication. So you get 2 different publications that will get you covered for every sport love that you have, from football, basketball, baseball, in some respects with the Hoosier.com, and the Athletic with their college coverage and NFL coverage for that matter. They do a great job there, a great job covering the Colts as well. And we did speak a little bit yesterday about the Indianapolis Colts decision to jump on with the quarterback Daniel Jones being named the starter for the year. Anthony Richardson will be in a backup position, and I do believe Riley Leonard will be their third guy. Whether or not they carry three on the active roster will be a to be determined. But at the same time, Indiana will also have that opportunity to truly name their starter, which we believe will be Fernando Mendoza, as they really don't release a too deep here. Stig has really not really released a too deep per se, but it's pretty safe to say that Fernando is going to be the starter for the Indiana Hoosiers. I don't think that's a major breaking story or secret to no one, but Fernando getting that start, as well as Daniel Jones for the Indianapolis Colts, which I think caught some people by surprise. But you know what they say, it's a situation where Indianapolis needs to win and win now. And Shane Steichen believes that Daniel Jones gives him the best opportunity to win now and let Anthony Richardson mature more, as we would say, especially in the aspects of his throwing and accuracy aspects that's got him in trouble in the past. So that's all on tap as well. And like I said, outside of Indiana football coming back, we cannot forget about the Bison making its return to Memorial Stadium here in 2 weeks. And that's one thing that I'm pretty excited to see the rollout of that. They've done a great job in behind the scenes, but week one to see the Bison involved and all that will be a great thing to see on opening weekend of Indiana football. We're going to step away, take a quick first break here. Hopefully when we come back, we'll have Brett McMurphy from On 3, as well as Mr. Jim Coyle, all right here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back to the Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. Thank you for joining us today, Thursday, as we get ready to head into the weekend and still waiting to connect with Brett here shortly, as well as Mr. Jim Coyle coming on here in a short second. But there was a nice article in the Indianapolis Star today, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get Brett on here as well. But hold on.
Hello?
Brett.
Yeah.
That's Shannon Griffith here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Can we get you to come on here real quick?
Yeah, sure. I didn't, you said talk, so I was going to move on to something else.
Well, I'm sorry there, and got a little behind on some things here this morning, and appreciate you willing to come on.
That's fine.
Come on this morning here with Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith with you here this morning, and I'm going to make sure that you can hear me okay, as well as myself okay. And wanted to go over some things here that's going on in the Big Ten. And I know you spoke a little bit about this yesterday in an article about the proposed college football playoff proposal the Big Ten made with either 24 or 28 teams. And I personally believe as well as that's a little bit too much when it comes to things of that nature. We're still at 12 and all of a sudden we're going to double it in a year or two. You know, kind of give us your thoughts on that as well, coming from your background as much as you've had in college football.
Yeah, excuse me. I just think it's good for college football. And look, it doesn't matter if the Big Ten suggested it, if the SEC suggested it, or Conference USA. I mean, I don't like it. It's not to say that 24 teams are deserving to go to the college football playoff, because they're not. It's for one simple reason, and that's to generate more revenue. Excuse me. Anyone that says anything differently, it obviously has had their head in the sand and hasn't looked around at what's going on in college athletics right now. All of these conferences, all these schools, they're trying to generate as much revenue as possible. And there's not a lot of untapped markets. One of them is expanding the playoff. You see, you got teams in the Big Ten and the SEC, the two most powerful two conferences out there by far, and they're scrambling for money. Iowa's moving their naming rights for their field into the end zone so they can sell a corporate logo. Auburn, they announced they're doing a corporate logo on the field. So this is simply just a money grab. And I personally, I don't like it. Others might. I think college football is becoming too much like the NFL. Want to make it like the NFL? Well, then let's just split up, 40 teams into 14 divisions and let the winner of each division at 6-6 go to the playoff, and then do it that way. But I don't like it. I don't sense that it would happen. But again, bottom line, it depends what these conferences and these schools are for money. But I think it's more likely we would stay at 12 or maybe eventually get to 16.
Hey, Brett, Jim Coyle. I'm sorry getting on a little late, getting set up at a charity event, but I agree with that. I saw that. And first of all, thank you again for taking time to join us. Really appreciate it. And congratulations on joining the On3 team. I know that they are grateful to have someone of your stature to join them. And I appreciate you again for everything. I agree with that. I saw that 7 guaranteed teams from any conference. I don't care who it is, Big Ten or SEC. Go back last year. Was it 7 teams deep, worthy of playoff teams? No. So you're watering down the event, and everything is turning into a money grab now. And it doesn't matter by whom, the player, whether it's by players or by schools. Everybody is trying to just get as much money as possible, and that's going to blow that bubble up until it bursts, I think.
Yeah, again, is there any big outcry that the 7th place SEC team should be in the playoff? And this is not college basketball. And they like to say, well, whatever the percentage of college basketball teams go to the NCAA tournament, that's different. Football is a different animal. And all you have to do is, and look, I know history does not guarantee something's going to happen, but it gives you a pretty good idea. And all you have to do is look at the last 21 years, 19 of the last 21 national champions year ranked in the top 7 in the country, not in their conference. So there's no freaking way a team that's 6th or 7th in their league is ever going to compete for a national championship. So it's simply a money grab. It's simply, let's create these play-in games that will create a lot. Look, I give Tony Petitti credit. Yeah, it will draw a lot of eyeballs, but that's all it's going to do. And if you can generate revenue that way, I guess that's what they're hoping. But yeah, as far as what it does to the college football regular season, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. When I tweeted out that, the possibility of a 24-2018 playoff, a lot of people responded on Twitter like they always do with snarky comments. But the most common one was called, that's called the regular season. We don't need to do this. I joked that the Big Ten's exploring a college football playoff idea where the top 18 teams in the Big Ten go to the college football playoff. So I'm sure we'll hear that one somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I agree. It's just everything they can do to kind of and make sure that they're in control again, which that's not a surprise. We know that the SEC and Big Ten are going to be the hands that rock the cradle, so to speak. But we'll see how that goes forward. Indiana receiving so much grief over their schedule. In your latest article, one of those, and I just look at that and I wonder. Now I know that I cover Indiana more than I cover every other team, so I'm more in tune to that. I definitely go out of my way to not to be unbiased, but I'm really surprised at the grief they're getting because so many other teams are set up the same way, and even in the SEC, you've got while they may be playing a Power 4 team for one of their 4 non-conference games, they'll have 3 others that are against Troy and Samford and whomever. So, but I think that Kurt Cignetti's boldness and brashness is a big part of why Indiana catches a lot of grief. But because I look at their schedule, they're playing 3 top 10 teams. 2 of those are on the road. And that doesn't include going to Iowa, who we don't know how good they're going to be with that quarterback from South Dakota State. So I'm just a little I'm wondering why. I think it's because I'm not on the outside looking in. I'm closer to the inside. But I just see that they're the same as most other programs. Did we lose Brett?
Yeah. Yeah. So, hopefully your tar's nice and hot and you got your feathers ready to go. I mean, look, here's the deal. Yeah, other teams do play this type of schedule, but they haven't played this type of schedule for the past 6 years, and they don't have the next 5 years scheduled out where they play this schedule. There are years where SEC teams will play only 9 Power 5, Power 4 conference teams. The issue I have, and again, it's not an Indiana thing, it's just kind of this strategy. When you look at the next 5 years and you're basically playing a bunch of nobodies and you cancel a series against Virginia of all people.
I don't understand that. I'll be honest with you.
Well, look, you're asking me. They schedule a home and home with Virginia, and Virginia is a nobody. So you've got Indiana's one of 6 Big Ten teams that do not play any power conference schools out of the non-conference this year. So there's also Penn State, Washington, Rutgers, Northwestern, and Maryland. So they're not the only one that's doing it. However, I can guarantee you they're the only one over the next 5 years that does not have any non-conference power opponents. And that's the big issue. And last year, Indiana got to the playoff, had an incredible season. They were 11-2. And I'm not taking anything away from Indiana, but this is a fact. If there are probably 30 teams in the country that would have played Indiana's schedule last year and won 11 games and got to a college football playoff. But look, you play who you play. Indiana only played one top 25 team in the regular season. And so now you're finally having a lot of success. You guys know this better than I do. The best, as Signetti said, the best season, number one of all time. But you're finally relevant again for the first time in 30 or 40 years. And instead of taking advantage of that, you're dumbing down your schedule. Look, I'm not saying you need to schedule a home and home with Texas, Alabama, and Georgia, but come on, Indiana State and you know the teams. And the other thing is, a lot of schools, rely on these schedules are made hundreds of years ahead of time, and we just, we're stuck with this. Well, that's not the case with Indiana. They added the Howard, Miami, Ohio, and Indiana State schedules. They signed those contracts in the last 9 to 12 months. So this is as Kurt Signetti said, it's a philosophy. He calls it an SEC philosophy. There's three SEC teams this year: Alabama, Florida, South Carolina. They will play 2 Power 5 conference teams. So they'll play a total of 10 Power Conference schools. So again, it's one thing to periodically play the non-Power Conference schools exclusively in your non-conference schedule. It's another thing to not play any. I think that's a big difference there. And I looked at Indiana's schedule, and going back to 2019, I'll throw out COVID. So between 2019 and 2029, that's 11 years. Indiana will have played only one Power Conference team out of the non-conference, and that was Louisville in 2023. So look, if Indiana fans are fine for an 11-year stretch of going to the stadium in the non-conference and seeing a bunch of tomato cans, that's totally up to them. And again, whether this was Indiana or my alma mater, Oklahoma State, I would feel the same way. This is not an anti-Indiana pitch. This is not an anti-Big Ten pitch. It's an anti-playing a bunch of garbage pitch. And that's how I feel about it. And if there's other schools out there that are doing it, please tell me that I've overlooked them, because I'll have the same take on these guys. But again, an 11-year stretch, Indiana from 2019 to 2029 will have played one non-conference team that's a power league team, and that's Louisville. And, you can make the argument, well, the Big Ten's so tough and yada, yada, yada. Excuse me. It's not that tough. Okay. It's not that tough. And you mentioned, excuse me, I apologize. You mentioned this year where they have, Oregon, they have Penn State within the conference. Illinois is ranked. Hey, that's great. They got 3 right now. When they play them, they could have 5. When they play them, they could only have 1 ranked team. But last year they only had 1. And again, it's actually more to be that I think Indiana's better than this. I mean, even Rutgers. I mean, Rutgers has been the doormat of the Big Ten since they joined the league. Rutgers has played Power 5 non-conference teams between 21 and 24. They've got Power 5, Power 4. They've got a couple of ACC opponents the next 2 years. So even Rutgers, who's getting their brains beat in, they are still playing power teams out of conference. So that's why that's kind of in a nutshell why I wrote that. And it's totally cool if you disagree. Like I said, you could change Indiana with any other school if that school had this same schedule, and I would feel exactly the same way.
No, there's something. I mean, go ahead, Coach.
Well, what I was going to say is, I've said this the other day that there's no being a college football coach myself for 28 years. there's no such thing as bad press, even though that press may come across as being a negative. But I think what Signetti was driving at in his thing where he made the side comment of the SEC's philosophy, his study had shown that I think he mentioned like 50 some odd % of the SEC play 2 group of 5 teams and 1 FCS team on their schedules throughout their career schedule making as well. Now, the problem with the SEC, and this is a problem that I've had for a while, I don't think when you have a traditional conference and plenty of teams to play 9 conference games like the Big Ten does, going out and scheduling an ACC team or a Big 12 team, which I don't think are quote unquote power, really, overall power conferences when you look who they play in some of those.
Big 12, ooh, easy on the Big 12 there.
And some are rivalries, and I get that. But in this day and age, the conference should make the most meaningful pitch to any college football playoff committee and not your non-conference, because the conference is what it should be about. And the SEC has done this for years where they've opted out of playing a 9th conference game against their quote unquote tough conference schedule in order to throw in somebody else. Now, you want to say Texas and Ohio State are playing, well, fine. The 2 big teams, the top echelon teams in the country, maybe that's a good thing. But at the end of the day, when you look at it from a broader perspective, I don't think Indiana's scheduling or Rutgers or Penn State, and I don't know who else is in that debate, is much different than you get from SEC type of schools when it comes to non-conference schedule, when you only have 3 like the Big Ten does, and most of them are going to play a group of 5 in an FCS school. I've seen Alabama line up week 9 or week 8 in their conference, and they're playing Austin Peay. Now you tell me.
What's it matter? That's the thing. Look, I'm an Oklahoma State grad, so I'm not defending the SEC by any means.
No, I'm not.
It's funny. No, I'm just saying.
Hey, did you ever go to Eskimo Joe's?
Yeah, like every day. So when I hear the SEC and the week in November, here's the bye week for the SEC. The SEC plays those games at that time because that's how it's worked into their schedule. So whether they play them at the end of the year or the first of the year is irrelevant. You're talking about Alabama. Alabama this year plays Florida State
and Wisconsin.
So they're playing 10 Power 5 conference teams. So that's a bad example. And just to randomly say, well, the SEC always does this or always does that. Anybody can say that. I'm saying, look, Indiana, you're better than this. You should play. You don't have to play Texas. You don't have to play Georgia. But play somebody other than the Sycamores. I mean, that's what I'm saying. And there's Florida plays Florida State and Miami. South Carolina's playing Virginia Tech and Clemson.
That's
so
a
if you're saying, if they're playing it, they're not ending it. Okay. I'm an Oklahoma State guy. Oklahoma State and Oklahoma are not playing anymore. Okay. So
which is sad.
Do not have to continue. So I'm just saying, if you can bring up some random thing, and I don't want to hear how deep the Big Ten is, because the Big Ten is not deep.
It's not deep.
I mean, after you get past, I will say maybe 10, 11 teams, maybe you fall off a cliff. And there's nothing against these schools, but Purdue, Maryland, Northwestern, you could go further than that. We talked about Rutgers. I don't know how good UCLA is. Certainly they weren't any good last year. So I don't want to hear about, well, it's a Big Ten game, so that's tougher than playing somebody else that somebody else is playing. It's apples and oranges, and I would say the same thing with the SEC. Look, there's many years the SEC has not been deep. It has been very top heavy. But the whether it's fair or not, the SEC has won 14 of the last 19 national championships. And a lot of those years, they may not have been the deepest conference, but they had the best team. And they showed that. And again, you can look at the rankings, and in the college football playoff era, that's 11 years. I'm not going back 50 years. I'm going back 11 years since the 14 playoff. And again, this is the selection committee rankings. I vote in the AP poll. So it's not the AP poll. It's the selection committee rankings. Only twice in those 11 years has the Big Ten had more top 25 teams in their final rankings. So does that mean from top to bottom, the SEC is better than the Big Ten? No, you can't say that, but you can say that at least at the elite of the conference, the top 25 teams, the SEC has been better in all but 2 of those years. I know the Big Ten's won 3 of those championships. Okay, the SEC's won 6. So I'm just saying, other than the top team, it has been a deeper, better conference, at least among top 25 teams, based on the only metric that really ranks them. I'm sure there's a million computer rankings. And so again, yeah, Kurt's right. You can go back and say, yeah, there's many a year where SEC teams didn't play anybody and all these different things. And when October, November rolls around and they come out with their week where everybody's playing the FCS team, everyone's going to rip them on Twitter, including me. But you know what? Everyone plays the FCS teams to open up the season, and it's kind of not that big of a deal. It's more because of the timing of it, I think, is people bring that up. And guess what? The argument about this is how the SEC does it. Well, in a couple of years, the SEC is going to be playing 9 conference games. So if the SEC then suddenly drops all of their Power 5 non-conference opponents, then I will come back on here and say, I was wrong, you guys are right, and all that. But you know what? I have a very strong feeling that will not happen, because the SEC, values those games, whether a lot of people think they do or not. And, look, I'm not saying all 16 are going to do the same thing. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to schedule like Texas, and I don't think Mississippi State's going to schedule like Georgia or Alabama. But I would be shocked. And you said, yeah, a lot of these are rivalry games. And yeah, Louisville plays Kentucky, Florida State, South Carolina, Clemson, on and on and on. So on one hand, are we not supposed to give those guys credit because they play a 10th power conference game? Or the way I interpret it, you're saying it, well, the only reason they do that is because they have to, because it's a rivalry. You can't have it both ways. You either play 10 or you don't, whether you do it by hook or crook. So again, I've rambled on and sorry, I'm all over the map, but there's just, it's not just a simple, well, the SEC does this, and so we're going to do it. It's more, I look at it as Indiana, if they want to become a elite, to steal a PJ Fleck adjective, sorry about that, Indiana fans, but to steal an elite, but to have an elite program that is, emerging as a, real power, not only in the Big Ten, but on the national stage. And then just to come out and say, well, screw that. We're going to play a bunch of tomato cans. And my apologies to any tomato cans I offended over the next 5 years. I just don't agree with that. But again, I'm not the coach at Indiana. I don't have to sell tickets to Indiana games. So it's not my problem. It's just my opinion. And you know what? I could be wrong.
I agree, and there's parts that I definitely agree with, because I don't think they should have canceled the Louisville game, although Kirk Day was first coming in, and I get that, but I think they probably would have won that game. The Virginia game, again, that's like playing some of the teams they're going to play, not very good. So that just makes me wonder, is it just about getting that home game and not giving up that home game because they're trying to generate all the money they can with home games only? But I would rather I'd like to see them play that Louisville game or something like that outside of there. And I wonder if the broader if you get the more teams into the playoffs, maybe that changes, hopefully. I know in the future, Indiana's got Notre Dame on their schedule. That's another 5 years from now. But that will be the case then.
It doesn't get canceled.
I don't think that'll get canceled. I really don't, because of.
I hope not, because it's good for college football.
Yeah, and I definitely, if that gets canceled, that will be worthy of grief, worthy of giving grief, and I'll be the first one to do it. I promise you. I don't like. I wish that they would have played those games because I think it's an opportunity to show that you are what you just talked about, one of those elite emerging programs. And so I just wonder if it's about the money. But my whole contention was, I guess there's just so many teams that are doing that same thing that I think that once these conferences get on the same page, the SEC is playing 9 games, then I think they all should come to an agreement. All right, we're all playing 9 games. Plus, you need to play a P4 team, at least schedule one P4 team outside of your conference. If everybody was doing the same thing, that I think that's going to make a difference, hopefully, in getting these things more lined up. Because I agree with you, it is better for college football. I want to see some of those cross-section games. Indiana-Louisville would have been a good one, or whomever. But
what I'm worried about with this automatic qualifier format the Big Ten's trying to push, whether it's 4 automatic qualifiers or 7 automatic qualifiers or 18 automatic qualifiers. I think they say it will increase the number of really good non-conference games. Guys, I disagree. I think it's going to do the opposite, because I look at it, it's going to make the non-conference like the NFL preseason. If you're a coach and all you got to do is finish in the top 6 or top 7 or top 4, whatever the number is of your conference to get into the playoff, are you really going to, if you're Steve Sarkisian, are you really going to run Arch Manning out there in week 1, knowing that if he gets hurt and you win the game, it has no impact on you going to the college football playoff? All that matters is the conference schedule. So why play anybody in the non-conference? It doesn't matter. You can go 4-0, you can go 0-4. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, you got to finish in the top 4, top 6, top 7 to get into the playoff. I think it's going to have the opposite effect. But again, I don't see the SEC ever agreeing to the automatic qualifying format, which of course the Big Ten and SEC have to agree on whatever changes we have moving forward. But actually, that's one of the big reasons that I'm against it, is because I'm afraid that teams will treat the non-conference like the NFL preseason, and basically like, we're not going to take a chance we lose somebody, because this game has no impact on whether I get to the playoff or not.
I got one quick question here, Brett, just to get another take on it, because your argument kind of comes in sync with now the college football playoff committee is kind of pushing a new playoff metrics in 2025, where the strength of schedule will be weighted increase, meaning a tougher schedule now carry more playoff value, and rewards wins over quality opponents and softens the penalty for losing to elite teams. Here's my question with that philosophical approach. Strength of schedule kind of changes as you go through the year, but if I play Texas in week 1 and they beat me by 3 touchdowns, is that loss going to ultimately really hurt me? Because even though I played against a higher quality team, they beat me by 3 touchdowns though. The subjective comes into that equation, because you can't have, like you said, you can't have it both ways. You can't award a team for playing a tougher schedule, but then beat them to death because they lost by 3 touchdowns week 1.
Well, right. Well, the committee would say, well, don't lose by 3 touchdowns. But no, I'm glad you brought this up. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is so maddening for me. And I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity, but I've been able to go through the mock playoff sessions in Dallas, where they basically they bring you in with other media members, and you basically go through the process of how you rank the teams, and they pull up the data from a past season, and you basically see everything that the committee sees, and then you decide who makes your playoff or whatever. So here's my biggest issue, and I will try to make this as brief as possible. The College Football Playoff Selection Committee is and always has been, it's a beauty pageant. It's whoever you think are the best 4 teams or the best 12 teams based on what you value the most. So now they come out the other day and say, okay, now we're going to have this strength of schedule metric, and you're going to get more credit for doing this and more credit for doing that. Guess what, guys? They're going to throw all the data up on a screen. You're going to have it on your computer, and you're going to look at it. I'm going to look at it, and we're still going to judge who the best teams are based on our opinion. They can tell me until the end of time to consider strength of schedule, and I may still not consider it because I don't think it's that big a deal. That's my prerogative. I have a vote. They can't force you to vote for a team based on strength of schedule. That's never going to happen. I think this is a shell game. I really do. I'm not saying that the committee members are corrupt. I'm not saying they're purposely not picking teams. I'm just saying they're human, and it's a beauty pageant, and different people value different things. They can tell you, we're going to do a beauty pageant, and we're going to say, okay, we want you to consider talent for 90% of your vote and everything else 10%. And somebody comes out here and juggles, somebody else, swallows a sword on fire, whatever it is, and you still may think, okay, I still like this other person because of, how engaging they were, their speech, whatever it is. And so they can't force you to pick somebody. So until I can't believe I'm saying this, until they go back to like how it was in the BCS, where we have actual computer or power ratings that are part of the selection committee process, or part of how, 25% computer, 75% human, however you want to do that. You can never guarantee the strength of schedule will be inputted into these selection committee rankings. So even though they're saying all this, if I'm the SEC or the Big Ten, it's not good enough for me, because it's still a human element, and you're still going to select who you think the best teams are based on whatever you value the most. And what us 3 right here think maybe the best 12 teams, we can talk to 3 other people looking at the exact same data, and they'll pick 3 different teams. And it doesn't mean we're right and they're wrong. It just means it's an opinion. And so that's why I think we're going to have issues with this even after this season.
Yeah, we're not even got to the FBI debacle at ESPN that happened between the summer and now, because they switched things around, and we're up against a heartbreak.
How about last year when Alabama lost at Vanderbilt? They still remained ranked number 1. So that's your ESPN FBI.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, I love and respect the opinions, the different opinions, and that's what makes everything go so well, because you can't have one side of it. And people are very likely to see things through their own views. And so I greatly respect and appreciate all the different opinions, and that's why I wanted to have you on, so it could be expanded upon, and I hope people get a better understanding of it. But man, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, and you coming on with us, because I have ultimate respect for you. You've been one of the great writers, sports writers in the country for a while, and Elm 3 is lucky to have you, and look forward to hopefully being able to do this again in the future. But man, congratulations first of all, but thank you, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Hey, I appreciate it. And when Indiana wins the national championship, I want to be invited to the parade.
Hey, I'll see if you can. You may not be the Grand Marshal because of Kurt Signetti, but we'll try to get you a co-Grand Marshal.
You got a deal. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Brett.
But thank you. Brett McMurphy from On 3 joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And we've got lots more coming up. We've got to hit a break. We're back with more. And I'm coming to you from the golf club at Eagle Point here in Bloomington, site of today's Never Lose Hoop golf outing. We'll be back right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
Welcome back here to Indiana Sports Beat Radio alongside Jim Coyle. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith, and we're going to keep things moving along, and we're going to bring in Dustin here. Let's see if we can get him all in here because I'm a rookie at this, Dustin, with all these buttons when Jim's out on the course getting ready to swing.
Boy, look at this side. This is just this is not what somebody wants to turn on and see at this time. But hey, Dustin, how's it going, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Cannot complain. Just finished up with Brett McMurphy. Fortunate to get Brett on with On 3 now, but one of the national writers, and we were just discussing the scheduling and all this. You know, Indiana takes a beating on their schedule, which there's some parts of it that I have to tell you, I agree with. I would like for them not to have canceled that Louisville series. I would like canceling the Virginia series. I'm like, why? It was so dumb because they suck, and that would have been an easy way to go pick up a win over a P4 team, non-conference rather. And even though they're not very good, it would have ended that debate. And so that just tells me this has to just be about getting an extra home game. But because you look at Purdue, and Purdue is not doing themselves any favors with their scheduling right now, as Barry Odom tries to, build up during the Ryan Walters era. It was it just kind of imploded, and so he's kind of starting from ground zero. But their schedule is not at all easy. You've got Notre Dame on the schedule again for a second year in a row, and I can't remember, they may pay another P4 team. They did last year. I think they played Oregon State or somebody.
Yeah, I mean they'll have Ball State, and then they go to SIU, or they play SIU. Then they'll eventually go to Notre Dame for their third non-conference game. So, and then down the road they've still got right now Ole Miss on the schedule. They've got Wake Forest, North Carolina, TCU. So, and Notre Dame's on there for a few more years. So, yeah, I mean right now they're certainly not. It's a tough non-conference schedule. And here's what I'll say, though, about the Indiana schedule. As you guys know, I run a Purdue site. So obviously, I don't want to say I'm involved, but there's plenty of people that are taking jabs at Indiana for their schedule. That's part of the rivalry. That's part of the fun, right? So I understand that aspect. But to me, when you look at, and I was able to tune in and listen to Brett McMurphy talk a little bit, his explanation, and kind of give you the breakdown of how the SEC is doing their non-conference. Well, you can't really break it down into non-conference and conference games because the SEC is only playing 8 conference games. So 3 of those games that teams like Tennessee, LSU, Auburn are playing, they're playing 2 group of 5 teams and an FCS opponent. And I'm going to say Griff because I was there when he was the head coach at Manchester. But and Griff knows this, like when you are playing.
Wait a minute, you were in school at the same time?
He was my teacher in a couple different classes back in the day.
Oh my God. Okay, we're going to continue this, but we'll pick that up. We'll pick that up later again. That's a whole other can of worms, but I don't want to interrupt you. So I'm going to put that right here and we'll get back to that.
But the point being is Indiana is playing 9 Power 4 teams, and And so your body takes a toll because the teams that you're playing at the Power Four, I don't care if it's Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue last year, those are still guys that are bigger, stronger, faster than a lot of Group of Five and FCS level opponents. So why would teams in the Big Ten, I have no problem with teams in the Big Ten going out and scheduling easier competition because they already have that built-in 9th game. So this isn't a matter of non-conference and conference to me. This is a matter of how many power conference opponents are you playing? And I think across the board between the Big Ten and the SEC, the answer probably most of the time is 9, and the Big Ten probably is closer to 10 because a lot of those Big Ten teams do have 10 opponents. I think the biggest reason that Indiana and Curt Cignetti is getting flack is because he's so boisterous, he's so bombastic that it's just unappealing to people. And if he was just
no, he's not that way.
If he was just a Kirk Ferentz type and just kind of kept to himself, and I don't think anybody's talking about this, but it's because of the personality that Curt Cignetti brings to Indiana that everybody's making this a big deal. I've said this before. If I was a fan of Indiana and I was like buying season tickets, I think I would be upset with the number of, or the opponents that you have on the schedule, just because, back when I went to games, I wanted to see those important non-conference games. I wanted to see Purdue play Notre Dame. I wanted to see Indiana play Louisville or Notre Dame. Well, they were in the conference and still aren't, but you get my point. But ultimately, the goal here is to finish as high in the Big Ten as you possibly can, get into the college football playoff, and give yourself a chance to win a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of disagreement with that because especially now, you want to see the good games. I always have wanted to see those good games, and a lot of those are outside of the conference. But it's so important now. Making the college football playoff for Indiana was I can't even begin to describe the impact it must have on the school, the university, and the program, because it's just immeasurable. And they want to keep that rolling. I get that, especially coming from the traditionally the worst program in the history of Division I. But I would like to see them playing a little bit better opponents. I'm not going to lie. But I also understand that it's probably really more about money, and they're not going to say that because that gives what they're doing gives them guaranteed 3 home games, not just 3 non-com. They're all 3 home games every time. And because they're not trading these games, they're not doing 1-and-1s, where with Virginia or Louisville, they had to do a home and home, which meant they're giving up whatever money they make on a home game for one of those non-con games. So I think it's more about money personally. And that's just, they're not saying that. They're talking about it otherwise, but and we know that Indiana's not going to change that in the next 5 years, probably, because they do have Notre Dame on the schedule. I think is at 30 and 31. That's only 5 years away. After that, I think who knows where we'll be in college sports? Geez, we could be like the NFL. There could be it could be divisions. It could just be the CFP or divisional race by then. But it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, I love the crossover, and I'm not gonna lie. The old Kentucky Louisville games, those were a blast. The Bourbon Barrel, it was just so much fun, and I miss those games. But it's become more of a business oriented sport for certain programs right now, and Indiana's one of those who hasn't had that achievement, and they're trying to say, all right, well, how do we manage this and make the most money at the same time while propping up the program?
Well, and I think in a few, I mean, I don't know if it's every other year or what the case is, but when they have those 5 Big Ten home games, they're going to play 8 games at Memorial Stadium. So that certainly helps your budget. That helps your bottom line. Another big factor in this to me, Jim, and I don't know how much of a factor it is, but I think you certainly have to consider it. If you seriously believe that you're a contender to make a deep run in the college football playoff, injuries have to be part of this thought process too. If you schedule some of those games and you're able to get your starters out in the first half, That's a huge advantage. So you aren't playing your offensive and defensive linemen a full 60 minutes. You're able to get them off the field by halftime. And the other part of this too is like, at least to my knowledge, there's no Big Ten team that schedules a group of 5 or an FCS team in mid to late November. That's a huge advantage for those SEC teams that are then going into the postseason, because I don't want to say they get a break but essentially in a lot of those games, those guys are getting a break for 30 minutes. I think
a lot of times in the SEC, aren't the rivalry games later in the year?
They are, but there have been times when Georgia's SEC schedule is done, a week into November, because then they have a bye week and an FCS or a group of 5 team, and then they'll play Georgia Tech. So there have been times when Georgia's SEC schedule is done that second week in November. And it's just a huge advantage for those programs, especially in today's age. Now, back in when we were just playing bowl games and maybe even the 4-team field, maybe it didn't make that much of a difference. But it's a strategy now to try to say, you know what? And you see teams in the NFL do it to an extent, right? Like if you have a playoff spot locked in and there's no place for you to go, do we play our starters a full 4 quarters? Do we give them the game off? Do we only play them half? What are we going to do? So all of this is now a factor when you're talking about teams playing 16, 17, I don't know if they can play 18, but let's say 18 games. Like all of these things matter. So I do think, Jim, you're right. Nothing in college athletics happens unless money is involved. Like that's the driving force. But I think there are also a lot of other factors too. You got to try to get 3 wins, get your confidence up, and then you want your guys to be healthy for as long as they possibly can, because this isn't just a 13-game season anymore. You're talking about 17, 18 games where your body has to be able to withstand the longevity now of 4 to 5 extra games on the schedule.
Here's what I wanted to point it out to Brett. And of course, we just got too busy with times, and then we can move on a little bit. Ole Miss's schedule this year, they play Georgia State and Tulane. And their week 9, November 8 opponent is the Citadel Bulldogs. So they also have in there another non-conference game against Washington State, because they opt to play those type of games as opposed to playing conference games. To me, that is a crock. That should be filled. If the SEC is the best conference in America, that should be filled by an SEC conference team and not Washington State. So if you take that away and put an SEC team in there, Ole Miss's schedule, a team that was complaining about Indiana getting in a year ago, they play Georgia State, Tulane, and the Citadel November the 8th. That in some cases is no worse than Indiana's. So,
right.
I mean, that's the point that I think everyone's trying to make here, is the continuity of the conference schedule has to be the most important thing of any matrix or any debate as it pertains to what a team is or isn't. But the first matrix is always wins and losses. It always will be, and never will debate on, well, they played this and that's why they're no, it doesn't matter. Because if it may come in seeding, well, their 11-1 record is not as strong as the 10-2 team that got in. Okay. But that's the debate that's going on here. And I think that's all in all what Indiana gets lambasted for, because they have Kennesaw State, who's a new group of 5 team.
Oh, you get on Kennesaw. That's Kennesaw. That's my man Dustin's location, bro.
I know. These are the teams that I think hurt Indiana in the perception business. That's the thing.
Well, at the end of the day, it just matters wins and losses. You have to beat the teams you have to beat. And I've already said this. Indiana can lose to Penn State and Ohio State or Oregon if they beat Illinois and they win at Iowa. If you do that, then okay, you can sustain a loss at 2 top 5 teams on the road, but they have to win the games they have to win. That, to me, they have to beat Iowa. You have to go to Iowa and win that game. And there's no way around, unless, okay, if you lose that game, you got to make up for that. That means you got to go to Oregon and win, or you got to go to Penn State and win. They have to go 10-2, and you have to show that you are actually better than teams that are perceived as being very good, or it's a tough game, and that will kind of eliminate the puff stuff. Although we would certainly like to see that go away, but.
I just like to point out here, last year, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm doing this off the top of my head. Go back and look at Ohio State's non-conference schedule last year. It was not good, right? And then who did they lose to in the regular season? They lost to Oregon on the road, and then they lost to Michigan at home. And guys, I know they had the win over Penn State, but they really didn't have another great win on their resume. But
no, and Indiana beat that Michigan team and didn't get credit for that.
Right. I forgot that they did beat Indiana in the regular season, so they did have a couple quality wins. But in the court of public opinion, to me, if Indiana goes 10-2, I don't know that in the court of public opinion they're going to be considered one of the 12 best teams. Now, there's got to be a lot of things that happen, so I'm not even – but they're going to, in my opinion, to get in, they're going to have to win one of those two games. I just think – and a big reason for that, and this is not a knock on Indiana, it is when the College Football Playoff Committee comes out and says, we're going to consider strength of schedule. Well, what does that mean? They did not provide any specific formula. Like when you look at college basketball, whether you agree with it or not, there's something tangible that you can follow along with if you're a fan and say, okay, how's my team performing against quad 1, quad 2? What's the offensive efficiency? Who have they won? It's not just based on rankings or who the committee thinks is good or not good or what conference each team is in. There is nothing tangible. So to me, I don't know what the committee is valuing here in terms of strength of schedule. Like to me, it sounds like Greg Sankey grabbed a bunch of pots and pans from his cupboard, started clanging them at these college football playoff committees, and they just wanted the noise to go away. So they're like, you want us to value strength of schedule? We'll go ahead and value strength of schedule, but we don't have to pros what it's going to be. We don't have to tell the public what it's going to be. I want to know, if I'm a fan, media member, whatever, I want to know what that strength of schedule, like what is that metric? How are you measuring that? So there's a lot of, but to your point, Jim, like I think Indiana can have a very good season, but because of the way they've been blasted for their non-conference schedule, if they lose those two games, it's hard for me, even though maybe most of those teams like in Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, I think some of those teams would get in. I don't know if Indiana does, and I don't know that it's their own fault for that.
If Indiana goes 10-2 this year and their losses are at Oregon and at Penn State, I do not see them getting passed over for the CFP. That means they will have a win over a top 10 Illinois team and that Iowa team on the road. And I don't know where Iowa is going to be at that fourth week. If they get past Iowa State, that's on their second week schedule on the road, they'll be ranked. So that would give Indiana another opportunity to beat a ranked team, of which they have to beat. They have to beat Illinois and Iowa minimum. Or if you don't beat Iowa or you don't beat Illinois, you're going to have to beat Penn State or Oregon on the road, to me. And that's how that goes. But I want to get back to having fun, these fun conversations we used to have, man. That's what we got caught up in all this stuff. But how's it been for you covering Purdue, covering this football program? Because I know that having covered Indiana for so long, it's not that much fun covering a team that sucks. I'll be honest with you. It's a hell of a lot more fun covering a winning team. And Purdue has been a team that they've tasted success, man. Hell, they were successful as recently as having Jeff Brom there. So it's not like they're foreign to it. It's just fallen off. And you can sure do it easily, but you can come back easily. Barry Odom is a solid coach. He's probably going to get them there, but it's going to be tough, man. They have a tough schedule, and it's just hard to keep fan engaged when they do that, and you're going through all that. But I don't know what they're going to be like this year. Obviously better than last year. I can guarantee you that. But they're still facing an uphill fight at the moment.
Well, and I said this last week, there's just not a ton of I don't want to say optimism because I think fans know that this year's going to be better, but there's just a lack of excitement, and it stems from obviously 1-11 last year, but then you're welcoming in more than 80 new players to the program, and it's like we don't know what this team's going to look like. We don't know what to expect. So I think expectations are tempered. I don't think anybody in West Lafayette is expecting a Kurt Cignetti type takeover where he's just going to come in and all of a sudden Purdue's going to be a playoff contender. I can tell you that the practices appear more structured now, and I think you can obviously tell that Barry Odom has done this before. He's been successful in the past. That's made a huge difference. Today they just named their starter. It's going to be Ryan Brown. I wouldn't be surprised if they use multiple quarterbacks throughout this season. The one benefit I think that Purdue has, and I'm even going to extend this into the third game against USC, they have Ball State and then they'll play Southern Illinois. So they have a chance to kind of gain some momentum, work off some of the rust, some of the issues, kind of work on that team chemistry. And then in that third week, they're going to welcome USC into town. And while I think a lot of people are going to pick USC, and I don't know that I expect Purdue to win, remember Josh Henson was at USC just a year ago. And sometimes those coaches who were on former staffs know some of the language, know some of the tricks that they've got up their sleeve. So I expect that Purdue USC game to be very competitive. I don't know that Purdue's going to start 3-0, but I think that 2-0, a chance to build some level of confidence because
they can't start 3-0. They've got Notre Dame on the schedule, baby.
But no, Notre Dame's not till after USC, so they have a better chance. And the other fact is they'll play. I think it's their first 5 games will be played in the state of Indiana, so they don't have a ton of travel either. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be a lot better, but I think if Purdue could get to 4 to 5 wins and be competitive in a lot of those bigger games, I think fans will jump on board with Barry Odom and be very excited about what the future holds, because this is a tough program. He's got a tough job. He's not complaining, not saying it's a rebuild, not saying we can't get the job done here. He says he wants to win and win quickly. It's tough to do that in the Big Ten.
Absolutely. Well, Dustin, thank you, brother. Next week, we'll get back to some goofy conversations, get off the rails a little bit, have a little more fun like Jeff Schroeder does, the head pro at Eagle Point. But we've got to take a break. We ran along with Brett McMurphy, so it's kind of set us back. So I apologize, buddy, but appreciate it, and we'll look forward to doing this again next week. And come with some stories, baby. I want to hear some stuff. There's got to be a whole bunch of it just built up.
Professor of the Year, just to let you know.
That's right.
And don't forget, feel the chirp of Ball State there at Purdue.
Oh my God!
Right.
Yes, I forgot about the confidence here, man.
Hey,
well, boy, we were definitely getting into that next week. Dustin, appreciate you, man. Dustin Schutte joining us from. Is it just called Purdue SI? Well, he's gone already.
Yeah, it is.
But we've got to take a break. We've got Caleb Keller coming up next. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So, no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back here to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith.
You got Caleb with us?
We do. I'm going to bring Caleb right in right now. Caleb Keller from FanDuel Racing. As he's
hey, man. Well, we all know him as from FanDuel Racing, but he's an IU grad. Mr. LA living out there on the coast, enjoying that. How's the weather out there?
It's going pretty nice, guys. I was back home in Indiana. Let's see here. Last weekend, caught a little 97 in humidity there at the Fuzzy Zellers golf course, but never been afraid of the heat. My summer job was, of course, cutting grass. But I'm happy to see on the weather that next week in Indiana, the highs are in like the mid 70s, and that's going to be a nice reprieve.
Dude, right now, I'm telling you, it is. Last night, it came in. I played in an event 2 days ago at French Lick, and oh my God, it was so hot. It was brutal. And you're up on the hill there at the Pete Dye course, which I'm sure you've been to. No wind there was no wind that day. It was awful, but it was a beautiful, it doesn't matter when you're there. It's beautiful and it's great. But Caleb follows IU sports, follows IU football closely as well. I'm surprised you haven't worked in some kind of way of, because with FanDuel doing so much, a little crossover work for you. Is that ever a potential?
When we first crossed over to FanDuel, we were splitting it up a lot of sports and horses. And then after a while, we kind of decided to go back all in on horses, which is kind of what we do best. For a while, it was a little bit like Chick-fil-A trying to sell hamburgers when the horse guys are talking about other sports. But if they ever need any football talk, I'd be willing to give it to them.
I bet. Yeah, okay, Caleb, just one question here, because I don't know, we may have some horse racing fans within the audience that we're speaking to, especially down in Evansville there at 97.7 The Ref.
Southern Indiana, down close to Louisville, Churchill Downs.
Absolutely. But the Saratoga Travers coming up this weekend. And
oh, look at you being all in the know. What the hell?
Coming off here, and Sovereignty's coming back, but I'm hearing a lot about the magnitude that he's going to be facing in that race.
Wait a minute, where's this knowledge coming from?
Hold on there, Jim. We'll talk some horses if we need to.
Hey, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just shocked that he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Well, let me tell you, my family used to own horse racing horses, the standardbred type, but we've loved all types of horse racing. Went to the Kentucky Derby.
I'm finding out all kinds of stuff today here, man.
I'm just a man of many talents, Jim. I'm just
a Renaissance man.
Yeah, but Sovereignty coming up this week, and what's your take on his chances of holding off this other young pup, Magnitude?
Well, in the same way that some of the great competitors like Tiger Woods had an effect on the competition where other guys would start choking when they got into contention versus Tiger in his prime, Sovereignty is having a similar effect.
Really?
The fact there's only 5 horses in the Travers, this is going to be the lightest field in 30 years, and everybody rightfully is going to wait till the Breeders' Cup Classic when they have to take the shot versus the excellent Sovereignty. But Coach, like you mentioned, Magnitude, he actually broke his maiden for his first win in start number 2 last year in Evansville, right there at Ellis Park. And Magnitude was always a solid horse until the Risen Star, which was a Derby prep race back in March. He was 40-1. He went to the lead, and not only did he keep on going, he widened to win by 9 lengths and got a 108 buyer. That was tied for the highest buyer of the whole run up to the Derby. He was actually tied with Journalism, who was the favorite in the Kentucky Derby. And the only problem for Magnitude was a couple days later, he had a little issue that came up, and he had to be taken off of the Derby trail. But he had that sensational 40-1 win, 108 buyer. And he came back in the Iowa Derby, which was not a great field, but he went to the lead and he won another race with 105 buyer. So Sovereignty has basically defeated all top 3-year-olds, but he has never faced Magnitude. And Magnitude is a front runner, and he draws the rail, and he will very likely get the lead. And I think that he will give a pretty worthy target for Sovereignty to run it. If you look at the last 2 races, their average buyer is 107 exactly. I still do think that Sovereignty is going to be able to forge by, but Magnitude with the lead and the rail and those speed figures could really give him something to think about.
Yeah, I kind of look at Magnitude as the Indiana of horse racing because of what you said there. They went down and raced nobody in Ellis Park. Then they went up and raced nobody in Iowa. Now he's at the Travers at Saratoga going up against the big dogs. This is Indiana, Ohio State all over. And that was just the reason why I led into there, Jim, about this race coming up and the fact that we had some horse racing in our blood there as a family. And coaches are known to wager every now and then at the track.
I'm disappointed we don't go back to the West Coast. Indiana plays Oregon, but I'm talking about the California, SoCal West Coast. Last year, Caleb joined us after the UCLA Indiana game, and I wish they were playing USC this year, man. That would be fantastic. They play basketball, so maybe we'll do something during the basketball season because that's going to be a weekend it's probably, I think it's a weekend. I can't remember if they've even set the dates yet, but I know they're going to play UCLA and USC back to back. So that'll be a trip that I look forward to that we can do. I'd say get some In-N-Out burger, but In-N-Out is what's my Whataburger. Man, I'm a Whataburger guy, dude, all day long, twice on Sunday. I've had In-N-Out. I'm like, whoa, what's the fuss, man? Whataburger is the king.
In-N-Out's pretty strong, though. If y'all come out for that double dip, UCLA, USC, and basketball season, I don't care what you say about it. We're going to In-N-Out.
Oh, I'm always in for whatever. I love it. But I will say it is, I talk about this all the time. I was out there once and I went to an In-N-Out burger, the one I went to try. I think it was in Westwood. The damn line for the drive-through was just, I'm like, holy hell, who's going to wait in that line? All those people are. It was crazy. So, but looking forward to that. But how you seem to be really in tune with everything all the time we speak in regards to IU sports, but with all that you have to do, and I know there's so much knowledge you have to think, so much information, the numbers, these ratings, and there are so many horses, and there's always so many new ones coming. How do you manage to keep all that, man, going?
I think it's selective memory. I'm lucky that I've gotten a lot of compliments on my memory over the years, but I tell people I don't remember anything about high school chemistry or Spanish. There's a lot of subjects that I don't remember a lot about, but luckily the horses file in very nicely. And then especially this time of year, leading into to football season, I love kind of going through the preseason magazine, scouting the opponents. If I'm going to take a little rare time to not be looking at the horses, then, well, naturally I pivot to an Indiana sport.
Well, we've definitely got them coming up. They do go on out to the West Coast to play Oregon this year. That's going to be an interesting take. And all the talk about the schedule aside, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it that I'm like, all right, get through the cream puffs. And as soon as you get through the cream puffs, it gets real fast with 3 back-to-back games, Illinois, Iowa, and Oregon. And 2 of those are on the road. And we'll know exactly I think Indiana's fate in the first half of the season. Last year, I'm like, oh God, this is easy. They're going to start 6-0 and probably 8-0, which they did. This year, I think they have to go 5-1. If they go less than 5-1, their CFP chances are very, very, very nil. But if they can go or 6-0, who's to say they can't go out and shock people? And because we don't know how good they're actually going to be, because I keep saying they're a better team this year than they were last year. The offense will be better. The defense, I can't say it will be better. I don't know. The defensive line is where the question marks will be with a lot of replacements there. But offensively, they're going to be better. And they were one of the top offensive teams in the country in virtually every category last season.
Yeah, and Coach Shannon, I absolutely love the video you put out for the depth chart. And as I was watching that, I'm thinking, look, we're all going to be optimistic before the season starts, but there is a pretty strong case that after Indiana led the Big Ten in points, that every single offensive unit could be better. I think the offensive line's obviously no doubt. I think that what I took from your video, Coach, was the wide receiver room is absolutely loaded. I know we got Surratt and Cooper, but a healthy Williams, Mekhi Jackson's a burner. Boyd has got some chemistry. You mentioned Becker might be one of the first homegrown recruits to hit the field. There could be a little question. I know that the running back group last year, you got to give a lot of credit to those guys. Ellison certainly deserves a lot, but Hemby can catch it out of the backfield. Kalon Black likes that head-on contact. BB is one of those classic fall forward guys. I think he was top 10 in the country in yards after contact. I mean, there's kind of a type that Kurt Cignetti gets for his running backs, and they're always falling forward. Mendoza, one thing I don't like about the rhetoric leading into this season is that everybody's so quick to say, oh, Mendoza will be an upgrade over Rourke. Let's not say anything negative about Curtis Rourke after what he did for us.
Not, I don't mean it, because I've seen some similar, but I always say now it's hard to improve upon that because he had a fantastic season. Plus, we didn't know he was playing with the torn ACL. He nearly ripped his thumb off, and the play came right back and played. So, no, it's not a negative towards that. It's the fact that I think that he is just as good, but he has some mobility that Curtis Rourke didn't have. We didn't even know about the ACL. He wasn't that mobile before that happened. But you look at the numbers that Fernando put up, and he got sacked 41 times doing that. So he's not going to have that issue. He's going to have a better offensive line than Curtis Rourke had. He's going to have a better running backs room than Curtis Rourke had because they've added all Big Ten Roman Hemby into that in addition to what they already had, Kalon Black and all the guys you talked about. But it's because they've upgraded a little around him that it's not that Fernando's better. It's just that he's in a little bit better of a situation. That unit is better, which will help amplify that. But and I'm not at all saying that Fernando's better. It's just he has a slightly better situation.
No, I agree. And I was watching Field Yates and Mel Kiper had like a 30-minute draft special, and it was called, I think it was called First Draft on ESPN. I was flipping through the channels one night, and 30-minute episode, and they're not doing necessarily the top 10 prospects. They're doing the most intriguing. Mel Kiper just leads the show with Fernando Mendoza, and the guy's an absolute stud. And this was the Christmas gift of Christmas gifts, as he of course committed there on Christmas Eve. The fact that Mendoza turned down Georgia, where he would not have even had to compete for the starting quarterback job. They're going to run with Gunnar Stockton, the hometown kid that took over late last season, and Mendoza turned down Miami. The guy lives basically at the University of Miami.
He was Cuban. From Miami. He went to high school in Miami.
Right. He's Cuban. Mario Cristobal's Cuban. They need a quarterback. They wanted him before they got Carson Beck. So the fact that two of the biggest programs in the South that needed a QB, he could roll right in, and he picks Indiana. And I heard one guy say, now this might be stretching it a little bit, but he said they were a couple plays away, California, from being 9-0. Like they were 5-4. Their losses were by a point to NC State, 2 points to a ranked Pittsburgh team. They had Miami beat for their first loss. You'd lose by a point, and then they lost to the Seminoles by 5 points in a low-scoring game. And if you look at Cal with Mendoza, they were averaging in conference play basically 31 points a game. Now, he did not play the last 2 games of the season, and I know these were tough opponents, SMU and UNLV, but they went from scoring 31 with Mendoza. They scored 6 without him versus SMU, and they scored 13 versus UNLV.
That says a lot. That says a lot right there. And you're correct. I mean, he's a quarterback that makes plays. He will probably drive Cignetti nuts a little bit if he doesn't hang in the pocket long enough, but you can't blame him. He got
I've heard people talk about that, and I keep saying, you know what? I don't see that being an issue because if Bobby Petrino can get Lamar Jackson to stay in the pocket as much as he did in college, which he wasn't always, I'll grant you that, but he didn't take off every time. He was you could tell he was trying to become a quarterback. And now you see how that worked. That transpired into a great NFL career where he is known for throwing the ball as much as running the ball. He was just a freak running the ball. I've never seen anything like it. Nobody could get a clean hit on him, and really still can't. He's something. But yeah, but having that ability to stretch a play when normally it's just going to be just take a sack or drop down, whatever, that's going to open up some things. That's going to make strain defenses a little bit more. Hopefully he does not do that, and because he has a ton of weapons. But hey, it's a game. We've seen it. Everything doesn't always work. But another reason you don't want him getting out of the damn pocket is because you don't want him getting hurt. So you got to keep these guys healthy. Sometimes it doesn't matter. You got Michael Penix running out of bounds against Maryland, and there goes his another knee. So it's crazy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the season getting started. We're getting closer and closer. We're a week from this Saturday, man. Well, actually, this Saturday is week 0. There are a couple of games I know, but which. I'll watch. I think one of them's over in Ireland, Iowa State, Kansas State, maybe something like that. But I'm looking forward to the season getting going. How about your racing season, man? Is that where are you right now? It's a year-long thing. That's the one thing about racing. It's year-long. It just moves to different areas or different tracks. They get to have their seasons, but there's always a season going on. Unlike whether it's college football or college basketball, they have their season and it kind of ends. But man, your deal never stops. So it's a merry-go-round.
Yeah, there's no off season. There's a little bit of a light part of the schedule. I would say like maybe
January,
maybe just December and January. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Even January has got some Kentucky Derby preps. I feel like January 1st basically kicks off the Derby trail. But this is a really important week coming up for the Breeders' Cup Win in Your Ends. We got big races. Torpedo Anna, the horse of the year, is going to be running this weekend. The following weekend is the Pacific Classic. That's the big $1 million race at Del Mar. And this is going to be a heck of a classic this year with Sovereignty and Journalism and Sierra Leone, who won the Classic last year, and White Barrio, who won the Classic the year before. You got 2 reigning champions out there. Got a horse like Mindframe, who nearly won the Belmont last year. I got to say, honestly, this is probably one of the best Breeders' Cup Classic divisions I've seen in maybe a decade.
And you're a big golfer, right?
Correct.
So, sorry. Played on did y'all win the
2006,
state championship?
2007, Jim Coyle. We got a couple of blue rings to show for it.
I was just saying, did y'all win the state championship? At Floyd Central? Yeah. So there you go. That answers that question. I knew that, but so we've got to get you in during either this time, because this has been an unbelievable busy week. 3 of golf events that I would have loved to have had you participate in. Yeah, 2 days ago we were at French Lick for they have the Corn Ferry Championship there, and they had media day. So I would love to get you in for that, because they would love to have you there and play that course. And then 2 days later, boy, we need to get you take the week off here. There's another one on Saturday down home that is the Peggy Sherrill Memorial, which you wouldn't know Peggy Sherrill, but do you know, Courtney Sherrill? Do you know Courtney?
I'm familiar with the Sherrills. So, I went to school with Emily. Not sure if she was related, but I know a few of them.
Yeah, that would be fun to get you in all those. But yeah, it would be a great time to get you back and play in all 3 of these events. It would be fun as hell. How much golf do you get to play? I would imagine a lot out there, because you're bouncing around, and well, especially if you're in town, then that gives your schedule a little lighter.
A decent amount. Back when I was in high school growing up, I played the age group championship each summer at the Donald Ross course in French Lick. I haven't been since they redesigned it, unfortunately, but that was like our U.S. Open in the summer for junior tournaments. But I absolutely
they had the U.S. Open there at one time. Oh no, it was the PGA. I'm sorry.
No, it's a really fun course. So much personality. I get to play a decent amount. My wife recently took up golf, and there's a little par 3 course. Okay, it's like 10 minutes away from my house. It's 9 holes. It's a total beginner course. The holes are anywhere from 47 to 86 yards, and we kick it around there for 9, probably twice a week. And
that's right up my alley, man. That's my kind of game right there.
play a full 18 maybe once or twice a month. But yeah, it's one of the reasons that you pay so much to live out here and pay rent instead of a mortgage is you get to golf all year, I guess.
How's Uncle Tim doing, by the way?
Uncle Tim's doing great. I saw him. I know you were great friends with him. Saw him a couple weekends ago when we were at Floyd Central, and he had the family over for a little pool gig and some hors d'oeuvres. But Tim's always doing good. Wait
a minute, hors d'oeuvres? Tim doesn't know what the word hors d'oeuvres mean. You got to be kidding me. That had to be his wife taking care of that. But yeah, hors d'oeuvres to Tim is great, dude. I'm kidding around with you. But an hors d'oeuvre to him is a fried bologna sandwich.
True. But no. But the family is doing well. Look, before I go, I wanted to take a quick little moment here because I scouted some of these teams early, and I wanted to relay to the viewers a little bit about some of our opponents early, if we got time. So
we got all the time in the world, and I'd love to. I know it's harder for you because of the time difference, but during the season, love to have you on as often as your schedule allows because the conversation always is great. You're very knowledgeable in all of this, and just like you are in horse racing, you take it just as seriously.
I got to get him on the tailgate.
So to start the season, I really think that this first game versus Old Dominion, Coach Signetti is going to have this team's full attention for a few reasons. Number one, Old Dominion last year played at South Carolina. It was 19-23, like they only lost by 4. Back in 2022 and 23, they had a home with Virginia Tech. Old Dominion beat Virginia Tech just 3 seasons ago. And, if you look 2 years ago, they were 14-point dogs versus Wake Forest. They only lost by 3. And 2 years ago, Old Dominion played at James Madison versus Kurt Signetti. Signetti was a 20-point favorite, and the game went to overtime. And Old Dominion's coach, this is his 6th year. He said this is for sure going to be the best team that he's had. And Old Dominion is coming in fired up considering Indiana took their best defender, Sean Asbury. America, they got a football team. He came in from Old Dominion. And our backup quarterback, Grant Wilson, also from Old Dominion. So this is the best ODU team they've had in 6 years. This is a team that's already pulled a massive upset 2 years ago, pulled a massive pay-for game upset last year versus South Carolina, took Signetti to overtime as a 3-point underdog. So, of course, I do think Indiana will win. And if they do win big, I'm going to give them extra credit because, Coach, Old Dominion's not really a pushover.
I've been saying that all summer that this will be a big test for this new ball club because of coming off a 11-2 year where all eyes are now on them and they are the hunted as opposed to the hunter. So yeah,
and correct. It's definitely no, there's no question. This is the toughest of their 3 non-conference. Last year, their entire schedule started at ground zero and just kind of slowly increased every game. Every game was tougher throughout the entire season. This year, it's the non-cons backwards. The toughest to the least conference happens, and then they kick off with a top 10 Illinois team, go to Iowa, go to Oregon. So completely different setup this year for Indiana's schedule. And you're welcome to stay on through the end of the show. I'm gonna have to bug out because I'm at the event, the Never Lose Hoop Golf event put on by the Hulse family here at the golf club at Eagle Point at Bloomington, and a great cause. Like I said, looking forward to doing this and kicking this off. But I'm gonna let Coach take it home today. But you're welcome to stay on through the end of the show, brother, because you're prepped and ready always, better than anybody that we have.
I'm up early and I got an off day, so Coach, we'll ride to the end. But Jim, always a pleasure coming on with you, and we'll be.
Love you, brother. Soon. I appreciate you, and I look forward to talking to you soon. But yeah, I'm going to talk to you about trying to work on what your schedule is when you come back. When you were back a few weeks ago, why were you back?
I got inducted into the Floyd Central Hall of Fame.
Oh, yes.
Actually,
How do I forget that? That's what got this going again. Yes, congratulations on that again. Mr. He's now a Hall of Famer at the is that your only Hall of Fame so far?
That is. And look, we both came up through one of the best programs in the state, WNAS 88.1, which is now FCTV. And after the ceremony, teacher Tim Dench, who was my teacher back when I was in high school, he showed us the studio. The Floyd Central studio, it looks like WLKY. I've had a chance to go
I've heard that. I have not been. I know Tim, but I was obviously before that. But I'm no WNAS Hall of Famer, baby. So congratulations on that. But I've got to jump out of here. And, Coach, I'll let you take them to break and then come back, and you guys can hash it out and finish it out. But I look forward to doing this again, Caleb.
Sounds good. We'll plan on it.
Appreciate you, brother. Take him to the break there, Coach.
All right, partner. Well, hey, Caleb, hang around here. We'll come back, talk more about this Indiana football schedule, all right here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Welcome back here to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle. I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith, sitting in now for Jim as he is getting ready to swing it away there down in B-Town today. I believe at the Hoops golf outing. And like he said, an enjoyable day to go out and swing the clubs. And it looks like the sun is starting to peek through the old shades there out on the West Coast. And Caleb Keller joining us from FanDuel Racing, but more importantly, a former Indiana alum, and I believe a Southern Indiana. When I was talking there, a little Floyd Central. Grew up in Jeffersonville when I was younger. My father was the head football coach at Jeffersonville High School back in the early 70s. So very familiar with that area as it's changed quite a bit. And I could tell you some stories there about one of the distributors of our adult beverages that was a great friend of ours, Ted Throckmorton, who was also a radio announcer for Jeff football back in the day, did color with Charlie Jenkins, who did basketball and football there for Jeffersonville High School. But I digress here. And we were talking a little bit there. You had a little good breakdown there of Old Dominion, and I'm with you on that. And tonight, referencing the depth chart projections, I'm going to do the defensive side of the ball tonight at 7:30 for the Hoosier tailgate. So join me there over on thehoosier.com or on X. You can catch me there, as well as the YouTube channel of thehoosier.com at 7:30 tonight. We'll do the defensive side of the ball. And I think they've got as good a defense this year on paper as last year because of who they've added in the secondary. And they were able to get CJ West, who's now out on the West Coast as well, there at San Francisco. They picked up a couple bodies there, Caleb, that I think the defense is going to be a pretty darn good unit again for Coach Brian Haynes.
You know, as I was watching the college football playoff last year, and like, you know, we've got this introduction that now we're like in that group on the big stage. And I was wondering what position group for the elite of the elites sets them apart. You could argue quarterback. Well, this year, I mean, some of these top teams are worried about the quarterback. Like Georgia with Gunnar Stockton, I don't think they were planning on having him start going into this year. Some have great wide receivers, like Ohio State, we know has the best wide receivers. But in general, when I was watching that college football playoff, what I realized that the super elites have that the others don't is the defensive line. Because once you get to the playoffs, almost every offensive line is getting run over. Like even a Texas who's got a top 5 line, they can't withstand the pressure of an Ohio State attack. And this is one thing that Cignetti, you know, his rush defense is insane. Last year at Indiana, the year before, James Madison basically led the nation. And also, I think we saw they had like one of the top defensive tackles in Georgia come up for an official visit. Probably won't come here, but just the fact that they're getting those visits, those are very rare. And the ironic part about the defensive line is that they're actually playing offense, and the offensive line is actually playing defense, trying to defend the quarterback. So the fact that Cignetti, bringing in guys like Hosea Wheeler this year, getting your CJ West, and obviously Mikael Kamara, I mean, he understands that what the top 5 teams have that the other 100 and something don't is that super power defensive line, and I think he's building it.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think gets lost sometimes in the discussion about Cignetti and Indiana and stuff is his track record, not only at James Madison and Elon, going back to his days as a Division II head coach at Indiana, PA. When he came to JMU, where they had nationally ranked offenses and defenses within the, you know, in the country and things of that nature, the rush defense, I believe at JMU may be in the top 5, if not one of the best in the country his last year there. They made that transition of going from JMU, who was a group of 5 power team that was well known, undefeated that year before he came to Indiana, prior to playing App State. They've done it and replicated it in his first year at Indiana with those guys that came from group of 5 schools. And, you know, Brian Haynes put together a defense that was aggressive. They got after you. They dictated the play instead of reacting to the play. And they just create a lot of problems for offenses. And knowing that from my background as an offensive coach, they do enough on defense that puts offenses on their heels, you know. And Ohio State's not a fair test because they were backed up against their, you know, own goal line 3 out of the 4 drives there in the first half, and they actually stopped Ohio State on 4th and goal. But this defense this year, with who they added in the secondary, getting Lewis Moore back now that that's behind them with the court cases, and we'll find out more here later in August, with D'Angelo back, and then them adding some transfers, Boykin and Knighton, and, you know, these corners that can play lockdown coverages. We're going to see more aggressiveness from Coach Haynes this year, especially playing true man-free coverage, which he did not do much of the last year, played a lot of fire zone. So I do think that they'll be that. Well, let's jump ahead here. We did Old Dominion, Illinois. Got the Golden Boy coming back, Altmaier at quarterback. They've got, I think, 16 of their top players back on either side of the ball. Illinois sold out already for Memorial Stadium. And I wanted to kind of get your take on them, because the last time Indiana played Illinois, they kind of got embarrassed by their backup quarterback over in Champaign. And this ball game, for being the number fourth game of the season, Bloomington will not know how to control itself, because there's going to be so much energy that week alone that when that game kicks off, it's going to be a powder keg of a game.
Yeah, going into the season, Coach, this is the one game that I feel the best about. I really think that Indiana is going to blow out Illinois, because if you look at last year, Indiana had 11 wins and Illinois had 10 wins. So we were pretty close, right? No, that was absolutely not the case, because statistically, Illinois didn't even have that great of a year. Illinois for the whole year scored 6 points more than the opponent. Indiana scored 26 more than the opponent. And if you look at yardage, Illinois for the whole year, for a team that was 10-3, Illinois lost yardage for the whole year. They were -8 yards per game. Indiana was plus 170. And I look at Illinois, I got to give them credit because they did beat 4 ranked opponents. They were winning close games left and right. They had to go to overtime versus Purdue, 50-49 versus Purdue, who we beat 60-something to nothing. The 2 times that Illinois played a top 10 team, they scored 7 at Penn State. They scored 9 at Oregon. And I know everyone's like, oh, they got the whole team back. 2 years before last season, they actually 2 years ago had 391 yards. Last year, they only had 365. They had more yards on a team that went 5-7. And yes, they were 4-2 versus ranked opponents. But I saw a stat. How about from 2008 to 2023, Illinois went 3-40 versus ranked opponents. We're talking like almost 2 decades of just ineptitude. Luke Altmaier, solid. I like Brett Bielema. I'm kind of happy that, Illinois is not like in the doldrums of the Big Ten, but this is not a fair fight. And the fact that Illinois is going to be ranked ahead of us, I think there's a tiny chance they could lose at Duke. I'm definitely hoping that Illinois beats Duke so that they're 3-0. But if Illinois comes in here feeling good about themselves, ranked number 9, and Indiana's the underdog role with a sold-out crowd, and we were averaging 200 more yards per game last year, this is blowout city to me versus the Illini.
Well, and I do think they have captured a little bit of the, elevated press love of Illinois and Brett Bielema. But even Brett Bielema in his Big Ten network practice coverage, when they were on campus, I mean, he even said one time, it's almost as if he wants that to be tampered down some, because I think he realizes where they were at. And yeah, they had some key wins. And most importantly, that game against South Carolina, because South Carolina came in there as the hottest team in college football in the bowl season. He understood that some of the dynamics were involved with all that, but you're correct. There are some underlying issues there when it comes to comparing the statistical aspects of offense and defense versus Indiana that you so eloquently laid out there, that there is a difference in that regard. And Indiana, the fact that Indiana has had a transformational another team with only 8 or 9 guys back with playing experience, that's where they get some of the negativity and uncertainty with the press and stuff. But Caleb, I tell you what, I wish we could sit here and go through all the schedule, but we're bumping up against that time period here today, and we're going to have to get you on the Hoosier tailgate sometime on a Thursday night, or when we get rolling in the season Monday night, to get some of your input on your thoughts of Indiana football as well as we get into the season, some of this analysis that you're bringing here, because I'm guaranteed that people will love to hear it, that handicapping nature that you have in your blood.
You know what? I got Thursdays off and Monday nights free as well. So I'm always going through YouTube to see the latest Indiana video. So I'll be looking forward to your defensive depth chart, but you have been doing some great work out there, and I'm loving the content. I'd be happy to come on with you.
Absolutely. We'll catch each other email, send me your contact info, and we'll get that set up at some point in time. But really appreciate you being here today, Caleb, and I'm sure Jim will get you back here as well.
We got a week plus. The countdown is on. We've been waiting long enough.
That's right. All right, buddy. We'll take it easy, and we'll catch you another time. I want to thank Caleb Keeler there for joining us today, as well as all of our guests, including Mr. Brett McMurphy from on3.com, and coming in and taking the hard questions today. And I appreciate his willingness to join us here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. But more importantly, we thank you, the listeners, for joining us here today. We're going to be back tomorrow as Jim will bring his best recap of his day out on the course. But until next time, I'm the Coach Shannon Griffith. We will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.